Hello, and welcome back, everyone. How you all doing? Today, I bring you a rather painful video, and it's all about the new traits for the Ranger. So, the main question that you guys probably have by now is, well, are they better than they were before? Do they work? Have they opened new paths when it comes to building? And short answer is absolutely not. But not to worry, guys, bear with me in this video because I'm gonna be explaining in full detail and also showcasing with some clips why I think this is the case, and also I really want to bring forward a core problem that I think the Ranger has. And honestly, it might not just be the Ranger. Hell, I think this is a problem that every single class has, and honestly, I think this is a problem that most MMOs have. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and go step by step. Some of these changes were a complete overhaul on an entire trait, and some others just added effects to what they already did. For example, Stoneform here previously just made it so whenever we use our ultimate, it pops lesser signet of stone and we receive no damage for a few seconds. Now, they combined what used to be in here, which was brutish seals, and added it into this one. Now whenever we use a signet, or rather activate a signet, we gain fury and might. And as you can see, instead of brutish seals, now we have Wolfsong. This is in paper something really cool, but just bear with me for a moment because I will explain why in practice is actually very bad. So what this does is when we are using a canine beast and we use its skill, it will apply vulnerability and reveal nearby enemies. Plus, we do 5% extra damage to targets that have vulnerability applied. In paper, this sounds pretty good, right? Very much like this one. Previously we had just a talent called Spotter, and it gives us a little bit of fury whenever we use the beast ability. Nothing too crazy, and it paled by a mile in comparison to the other two talents. This one if you were playing Condi, this one if you were playing any power build. So, what this does right now is, as long as we're using a feline, avian or drake pet, they are going to get increased precision and ferocity, essentially making them hit harder. And by this point, you are probably thinking, well, if they are an improvement to what we had before and nobody picked them anyways, how bad can this be, right? Hold that thought for a moment, and let's just keep showcasing the new traits. Well, get ready to see a few of those design flaws that I was talking about. Maybe you spotted them already, but let's just move on, shall we? Let's say we want to play a condition build, and oh, look at that, we have new things here. Previously we had the talent here that just gives us a little bit of vitality and very small bunch of expertise. Right now we have a talent that says Spiders and Devourers, Twin Darts, which is basically the auto attack. It's going to apply Torment. And on top of that, we gain 150 base expertise, like flat expertise. And if we are using that Spider or Devourer, they, like the pets themselves, get an extra bunch of expertise. This is honestly not so bad, and once again, it's an improvement to what we have. The problem is, my friends, once again, we are forced to use a specific type of pet, which, and this is the design flaw that we've been having for a long time, or rather a power creep, as I like to call it. There is no pet in the game when it comes to conditions. No pet whatsoever that's better than the Volga. It's raw damage, raw stats, utility, and access to the combo field ethereal, which gives us chaos aura, plus the confusion. It's just way too fucking strong. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can hold a candle to this. So, let's say you want to use this talent because it looks cool. First of all, it's not that good anyway, if you think about it, because in your build you probably have already more than enough expertise, right? You probably don't need it. And your pet applying a little bit of torment with every auto attack it's not that good, especially if you have to sacrifice the best pet that there is for Condi builds. Let's just showcase really quickly what I was talking about when it comes to the auto attack, and you can see the silliness of the actual talent. Now, think about this. This guy being static against a static target that's not moving, it's only capable of racking up 1.5/2 stacks of torment. What do you think is going to happen when you are actually fighting somebody? Yep, another design flaw. Now, here comes my biggest complaint when it comes to all of this. There is a bunch of dynamics like this introduced, but for some reason, and this is on the patch notes by the way, it's not a surprise, but I kinda hoped it wouldn't go through. You don't get the stat benefits when merged. Yep, that's right folks. If you're playing this for the sake of, hey, this looks cool, well, the moment you merge on the Soul Beast, you get jack shit. You don't get anything from that. So yeah, what this means is essentially, if you actually wanted to make a proper build making use of these new interactions and cool talents where the pets seem to be stronger or the center of the dynamic, you have to play, no matter what, Untamed. Because otherwise you just don't have really control of the pets, and you know, most of the time you're gonna be merged in the Soul Beast, so yeah, that's pretty much about it. Well, up to this point you can see that there are some things that don't really make sense, but wait for it, because it gets even more scuffed. But before we deep dive into it, I'm just gonna showcase really quickly the remaining of the changed traits. Number one, we have in Beast Mastery Beastly Warden. Previously, we only had the taunt effect. Now we have on the pets 20% more damage and 20% more HP. However, once again, you are forced to use only bears or piggies, which is, well, not ideal really. What else there is? I believe there was one here in Nature's Magic. Yeah, there we go. Search and Rescue, completely irrelevant. Nobody is gonna use this over any of the other two. Absolutely not even in group play, I believe. But yet again, even if you want to use it, you have to be using a MOA. And there are better pets than the MOA if you're trying to pull some sort of support thing. So yep, this is by far the worst one of them all, in my opinion. And let's see, I don't think I'm leaving anything else. I think I've showcased all of them. Boy oh boy. Well, before I leave you guys with the gameplay on the background, while I am explaining the remaining problems I think the Ranger has and this whole trait interaction, I'm gonna go ahead and say, if you're thinking about making a build centered around the pets that actually works, just for fun to see if you can make it happen, don't do it. Don't waste your time. I spent, since the patch dropped, the whole 2 days, I think it was, I've lost time already, like I lost count of my time already, because my morning to night has been trying different sets of gear, different stats, different skills, different everything, weapons, you name it, in order to maybe perhaps find that secret build that utilizes the new dynamics or mechanics and it works. But yep, TLDR, there's none to be found. So yeah, I proceed to show you guys the clips, and as we're watching them I will point out the problems, the remaining problems, and by the end of the video you will have a clear idea of why, no matter what you try to come up with, these new traits will never eclipse or be picked over the old ones, and you cannot build with them. So yeah, let's just watch. So here we are guys, and well, even though the first clips we managed to get a kill, and we did get some kills throughout all the testing, I have to say that it's just too much work trying to make the pets be useful and impactful, so to speak, because this is the version I came up with, the combination of talent and skills that I came up with that actually got me somewhere. But even still, with this combination of talent, skills, gear stats, weapons, and all that, the feeling was that for the sake of utilizing these talents, it's just too much work, and I didn't even do that much as any other Untamed build, for example. This is what we're using for this one, guys. We are using the Fang and Claw variant and this combination of talents to try and really push the damage and utility of the pets, trying to make them the star of the show. But soon you will realize, even against an opponent that we already beat, that it's still way too much work and it's still too hard. And here comes problem number one, and probably the biggest one for this whole pet shenanigans. Pets are utility things because they are just too weak. They have too low HP, they don't have any tankiness, they get CC'd easily, they just die to Peace, to AoE, to anything. Take a look here, for example. As soon as I take my eye off, in 1 second it's down. There we go. So that's you're forced to switch. And by the way, we are using, in my opinion, the best feline pets that you can find for this, which is the panther that gives you stealth, and then the other guy from Jantir Wilds that has a ton of damage, good utility, and also CC. But yeah, you can see how both of them just really just died, and then you are left with a build that's lackluster. Once again, too much work. And of course you might be thinking, well, of course they die, you went full on damage when it comes to trades and stuff. Well, not really. I also tried the opposite, and yeah, even if you were to invest everything you got for them to be tanky, they would just die anyways. Here you can see a little bit of a middle ground that I found, which is in paper really cool. We have a little bit of utility, more Conde cleanse, sustain. We don't lose that much damage anyway, but yeah, you're about to see how quickly the pet dies anyways. In the end, you're gonna be left with a lackluster build where you don't deal that much damage, you are not that strong anyways, and neither are your pets, because even if they were, they would just die incredibly quickly. Yeah, there we go. Pet's already dead, and now more people join, but let me tell you, it wouldn't matter. My other pet would have died anyways against one single guy right there. And by the way, guys, did I mention that this is a really cool concept? Because what we do is we stack a bunch of boons, we deal more damage with them, we have the damage multiplier from the last talent on the Untamed, and the idea is that we're going to be giving our pet a massive amount of boons, both offensively and defensively, fully stacked on might, but we have a little bit of a problem. You see, here it's full, then you need to swap pet immediately, almost immediately, because if it's not dead already, it's about to be, and when you do swap pets, you lose everything. So there you go. Another design flaw, in my opinion. Now in the next 3 clips I'm gonna be trying to make use of the Wolfsong talent, which is the one that allows us to have this cool interaction with the doggos, as I like to call them. But you see there is a big problem here too. Most of those skills are war cries, and in order to do that war cry, they usually stop and then cast, and it takes a huge amount of time. It's easy to dodge. Most of the time, if the pet is still alive by some miracle, people will just dodge it, move away from the point where you wanted it to cast, and the only way of making this be somewhat useful is to actually have either a potato, right? Imagine you're fighting a potato, sure, it's gonna work, but then again, everything works against potatoes, or having to stun lock the guy and then follow it up with it. It's just so much effort, when the alternative are 2 much better talents that do good stuff regardless of, wonky mechanics. Here, for example, you can see it took a while to activate, and now you're gonna see with the other one, yep, it gets interrupted once. Let's take another look here. I'm specifically playing this to try and make it happen. Oh, there you go. By the time the pet finally got the cast off, the guy just moved away. He didn't need to do anything special, he just moved away. And I am fighting here somebody that probably is new to the spec that they are playing, and it's not very good, so to speak. But yeah, once again, if you were to want to force this no matter what, you would have to do an entire setup just so you could pull off this 20-second skill in the case that your pet is still alive. Because let me tell you, most of the time they will just instantly die. They only have 15k health. It's like the felines, right? Very fragile. And pets also have all sorts of problems when it comes to movement, the way they are coded, the way they interact. When you switch targets, there are so many things that are janky and very non-responsive, so to speak. In this next clip, you're gonna see a little example of one of them. I'm gonna be starting on a target here. You can see me, yeah, we're gonna try to go for it. And at some point, I wanted to fear, right? I wanted to follow up CC with the fear. However, he goes away, but I have somebody else with me. I retarget, and I tell my pet to fear that guy. Can you see how long is it taking for the pet to actually retarget this new guy and then actually pull off the fear? Once again, it's too little too late, and the effect didn't even matter that much. It's not that impactful anyways. That's my whole point. And you're about to see the final version of the build, or rather the one that I had more hopes with. Here we're going to be using the Beastly Warden trait, which makes our pigs and bears 20% more HP and 20% more damage. Now, the problem is, once again, we are forced to choose these pets, which are suboptimal by far in comparison to some of the others. And this was the only setup where I could consistently get my pets to not instantly die. The problem is, even though we finally manage the pets to stay alive, they still don't hit hard enough. No way, because we are forced to use pets that are not really meant to do damage. Even with the 20% damage boost and the last talent of the Untamed, they just don't feel that relevant, and they have also the same problems when it comes to the cast time. The pigs are out of the question in my opinion. It's just not too good. You are forced to play a pet that only has one reliable ability, and there are really good bears, like the two I'm using, one of them for CC, one of them for damage and also a little bit of control. But take this clip for example, against a Willbender. Well, we have the same problem that with the doggos in this case, because the Warcry is super slow, it needs to stop, and by the time it happens, the target is probably dodging it anyways, or if it hits, it's just not enough. So even though we finally manage a build where the pets won't die, they just don't deal enough damage, they still struggle to keep up with the target, and that's giving them the maximum amount of movement speed possible. Yeah. Whereas if I wasn't forced to take this talent, I would have another one that's much more useful, or perhaps even an entirely different and more much better trait line, right? I don't see myself struggling as an Untamed against this Willbender unless I'm playing this weird beast thing. If I was with my regular build, I just stealth, proc the anti-blocks, unleash, and the guy is almost immediately dead. I just need to kite when he's using invulnerable and then finish the job. Here I'm just struggling with everything. Take a look at this shit for example. This was a guy that I thought, well, this is clearly a new player, he's not even playing a good build, but I thought, hey, he's pretty low, I'm just gonna send my pet to see if it can finish the job in a build that's supposed to make them really strong, and well, you get the point, right? So I'm like, let's see what happens. It's so ridiculous, man. He can't even finish the job. And you will see how I try to press an ability here. Look how long it takes to actually do it, and when it does, because he had to stop, he doesn't connect it anyways. I shout, he rolls away. It's... You kinda see the point, right? If a build that's centered around pets and talents that are supposed to make your pet stronger can't even finish a noob with 1 HP, it's... I don't know what to tell you, man. And once again, yet another situation where if I was using any other pets, they would have instantly died, so in the end it's like not having them. And here I'm using the bears because it's the only one that can withstand, you know, the fights. But here I'm thinking to myself, hell, I'm not being able to apply enough damage to do a 1v2. It's already hard enough to do 1v1s. If I was with any of my other Soul Beast builds, or even with my normal Untamed build, I would have probably, at the very least, killed one guy here. So yeah, that's let's just do a recap of everything that has been said, and you know, put it a little bit into context and give you my thoughts of how I would improve these things, what I would change, and why I think this is something that needs some attention. So here we are, guys, at the end of the road, and now you know what I think, that the new traits are completely irrelevant and they're just not gonna see any play whatsoever. So, just to summarize, let's go over the things that have been talked about in this video. We'll put them right here on the screen, and then I will also talk about what I believe to be the solution or possible solutions or improvements to those problems. Without further ado, let's just put all of this to work, and number one on the list, I would say, is definitely pet survivability. It just doesn't matter how good you can make a trait that interacts, or rather requires your pet to do something, right? If the pet is just gonna die anyways very easily. And as a follow-up to this problem, there is the death or resurrect timers on the pets, which in my opinion, it's a completely stupid mechanic. What you are essentially doing here is transforming a very important and core mechanic of the ranger into something very meh. You make the pets extremely fragile, easily killed, and then you give them big death timers. It's like, what the fuck? Seriously, why? In my opinion, and this is solution number one to these problems, I would implement a few things when it comes to the pets. Number one, I would get rid completely of the death timers, and what I would do is, so they still function, you can still swap between them, you don't have all those penalties. However, the pet will deal about 75% less damage, less movement speed, or whatever. But you still have the pet, you are not completely cocked out of it. And as a follow-up to this solution, what I would do in terms of survivability is make it so every time we dodge roll or evade, the pet has also a short evade window. The reason for this is, well, sometimes you see the big chunking ability coming to you, or the CC, and you just roll, dodge roll, you try to evade it, whatever. However, even if you saw it, even if you're doing the right thing, you're a good player, you've learned, you see what's coming and you dodge through it, the pet is gonna eat it. It's just so frustrating because it's like, oh, I know I should be dodging this, and I am, but my pet doesn't get rewarded for my decision making. So make it without altering the movement of the pet any further. Make it so every time you dodge, roll, or evade, your pet gains short evade window too. I honestly think that just with those changes alone, you would improve the ranger experience a lot. You wouldn't make the pets extremely strong, you wouldn't make them OP, it would make them just more fun to use and more reliable. Now, moving into problem number two, well, there is a thing that's the chunkiness of the pets overall. It's a problem within the coding, I believe, but since I don't know too much about that, I will talk about what I do know, which is the cast time for some abilities. Well, we've seen how frustrating it is even if you're trying to make the correct play because the pet needs to stop and then have a long ass cast, right? In the end, this is a game that has very fast-paced combat, very snappy, very movement-ish, and most of the time, even if the player hasn't seen it coming, they will naturally dodge out of it because the pet just fucking stabs and the target just moved away from the area, right? So my solution to this massive problem would be make it so the pet can still cast the ability while moving. Don't get rid of the cast time because then it would, be a little bit unfair to the opponents and they wouldn't have time to react. But make it so the pet doesn't need to fucking stop to press the ability, right? It's a simple change, and I believe, once again, it wouldn't make it OP. You still have room for the player to see that something is coming, but yeah, you get the idea. A third problem, I believe it doesn't have to do with the pets themselves, but I believe it's a development standpoint. Well, here's the thing, and I know this one isn't that easy to fix or to address, but this is a problem that other classes and even other MMOs have, which is for so long you've had 3 options in a trade line, right? You have 3 options and 2 of them are clearly, no matter what build that you're playing, are clearly much better than the other one. Well, you can't just pick that old and shitty talent, rework it and say, hey, I present this to you, it's a little bit better or much better than before, maybe, yes, but it's still way worse than the others. And in this case specifically, talking about this video and the points we've been making, it's not only still worse, but even if they were a little bit better, you have these inherited problems, these core problems that would make it more chunky and still not so good to use. The solution or my suggestion to this problem would be to tell the developers to be a little bit smarter and work less. Let me explain what I mean. Guild Wars 2 has a really big, loving, active and overall good community filled with streamers and with content creators that would absolutely welcome if you put some ideas out there, then you implement a beta or alpha or whatever test for a couple of weeks, and I guarantee you they will pinpoint the problems and the things you need to focus on of those ideas. They will literally do the work for you, say if what you had on paper that seemed good, it's in practice reliable, it's bad, it just works, it doesn't. Literally, be smarter, do things like this more often, interact with your community a little bit, because I guarantee you they're gonna make your life easier when it comes to this, and then you haven't wasted your time. Let's put it this way. Imagine you're the developer and you have a really cool idea to rework some things that haven't been used for a long while, right? Well, put the idea out there, announce it, and then have a few weeks to test it. Like I said, I guarantee you lots of players and lots of content creators will make videos about it, telling you exactly how things are going on and what you should be doing. So yeah, that's it for that one. And for my fourth and last problem that I want to bring forward, I think it's an issue of power creep. Well, this is something that's a little bit harder to tackle and a lot of MMOs have it, but when it comes to the ranger and its pets, I really don't think you realize that in the past you made pets so strong in the form of the Evolga and the smoke scale that it doesn't matter what you release right now, they are not really catching up to their potential. Sure, there are a few uses and there are people like me that want to try and force them out and they will use them for fun a few times, but in the end, most of the use will still be with the same pets. Here, let me give you a clear example of what I mean. Well, let's say for the power builds, the staple is the smoke scale. The reason being is, well, the smoke cloud. The raw utility, even after some nerfs to the pet, the raw utility on that stealth it's just too good to pass. Then, if we're talking about Soul Beast specifically, you have the Smoke Assault, which is damage, dodge, evade. Like, you don't know how good it is to have an instant ability with good range that will teleport you to the target while avoiding some stuff. This doesn't matter what you bring forward, it's just not gonna top it off. It's just too good. So yeah, I'm not sure what the solution is here, but the same happens with the Evolga for condition builds, for example. Take a look at this. You have, like, the only way for the ranger to access confusion reliably is with the Evolga. Big, massive chunks of confusion here, but not only that, you also have Torment. The stats are really strong, and even if you were to nerf the pet, the fact still remains that you have access to confusion and the Chaos Aura. I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but on top of that, if you're not playing Soul Beast, this pet is still gonna provide you with the AoE, with the combo field, with the confusion, and not only that, it has a massively long pull that it's just too good, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You can have the bees, whatever, and they are not bad. It's not like it is that, but yeah, what would you rather have? A little bit of a sticky neck like this, or a massive pull to CC or peel for you? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then in Soul Beast form, the primal cry is the same, but here, yeah, you have, well, a little bit more poison, and you know, just sure, a knockdown. Once again, what would you rather have? This or access to massive confusion? I guarantee you, you're gonna want the confusion. So yeah, now you know what my final point is to this whole power creep problem. In my opinion, although I don't have a clear bread and butter solution for this issue, I'm not a fan of just nerfing things for the sake of it. I think that's just not healthy for the game and makes it unfun. But what I would say is, if you implement the changes from 1.123 and you make the pets more reliable and viable, you will open a whole new world of possibilities, because, well, you see, now you're not only playing the pets for the few buttons that they provide and the utility, you can make really cool stuff with them. And I truly believe that fixing those things would make it so you now are capable of releasing out there a new and cool pet that will see some play more than just a few days. Anyways, I think this is the end of the video, guys. I believe I haven't missed anything that I wanted to talk about. Hopefully I could raise some awareness when it comes to some of the ranger issues, and I usually don't do this, but it would mean a lot if you guys could just, you know, interact with the video a little bit, like it, let me know what you think in the comments. It's always interesting to learn new things and read your opinions. And this time I'm actually gonna say it, it was very, very painful to make due to all the hours spent trying different sets of gear, relics, runes, combinations of traits, skills, pets, you name it. I've tried everything that I could, and this is the end result. So for this time only, if you were to sub and help me reach those 1k subscribers, it would really mean a lot to me. But the most important part, I hope it was of some use for some of you guys. I really hope I can save some time from other ranger players, and yeah, hopefully you liked it, and see you in the next one. Cheers!